If you are an American and you are thinking about dating a Ukrainian, pause for a moment. Because what you are stepping into is not just romance, it is a relationship shaped by history, tradition, and survival. A world far different from what most Americans are used to. Welcome to Cultural Clashes, the channel where we reveal the hidden truths about what happens when love crosses borders. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, leave your comment, and share this video. After hearing this story, you'll want to tell us, could you survive dating a Ukrainian? At first glance, Ukrainians are deeply attractive partners. Ukrainian women are admired for their beauty, elegance, and strength. Ukrainian men are known for their resilience, pride, and determination. For Americans, meeting a Ukrainian can feel like finding a partner who is both romantic and resilient, someone who carries old-world charm with modern ambition. But behind the allure lies a culture shaped by hardship, tradition, and family honor that can clash hard with American expectations of love and freedom. Let's imagine a couple. David, a 33-year-old American from Boston, meets Olena, a 26-year-old Ukrainian woman from Kyiv. Their first meetings are electric. David is captivated by her grace, her intelligence, and the way she carries herself with quiet confidence. Olena is intrigued by his optimism, his independence, and his easy American humor. At first, their differences feel refreshing. David feels like he has met someone who values family, tradition, and depth. Olena feels like she has stepped into a world of possibilities. But soon, those differences grow heavier than either expected. The first cultural clash comes from family involvement. In America, relationships are primarily between two people. Families may give opinions, but they do not dictate the relationship. In Ukraine, family is central. Parents and grandparents expect to be involved, to give advice, and to influence decisions. Olena invites David to family dinners where uncles, aunts, and grandparents all weigh in on their relationship. At first, David thinks it is charming, but soon he feels suffocated. He wants independence. Olena insists that family approval is non-negotiable. For her, love without family blessing is incomplete. For him, family involvement feels intrusive. Gender roles quickly become another battlefield. David believes in equality, splitting bills, sharing responsibilities, and supporting independence. Olena, while educated and modern, still expects traditional gestures. She believes a man should pay for dates, protect, and lead in certain ways. When David suggests splitting expenses, she feels disappointed. For her, generosity proves seriousness. For him, equality proves respect. What he calls fairness, she calls weakness. What she calls devotion, he calls control. Jealousy and loyalty take different forms as well. In Ukraine, jealousy is often seen as a sign of passion and commitment. Olena expects David to show protectiveness, to care if another man looks at her. When he stays calm, she interprets it as indifference. David, raised in a culture where trust means freedom, does not see the point of jealousy. The more he trusts, the more she feels insecure. The more she demands jealousy, the more he feels trapped. Tradition and religion also create tension. Many Ukrainians hold strong religious values, attending church and following traditions tied to Orthodox Christianity. Olena expects David to respect holidays, rituals, and ceremonies. David, who is more secular, struggles to connect. For him, religion is optional. For her, it is identity. When he resists, she feels he disrespects her culture. Trauma and resilience shape their relationship in unexpected ways. Ukraine's history of war, instability, and hardship leaves deep scars. Olena carries stories of her family's struggles, of resilience in the face of crisis. She values security, loyalty, and stability above all. David, who grew up with comfort and freedom, cannot fully understand. When he talks lightly about moving cities for work, she feels unsettled. For her, stability is survival. For him, change is opportunity. Their values clash at every turn. Communication styles also highlight differences. Americans are often direct, open, and quick to express feelings. Ukrainians are more reserved, careful, and cautious with words. Olena does not say "I love you" often. For her, actions matter more. David feels insecure, craving verbal affirmation. When he pushes, she pulls back. For her, constant words feel empty. For him, silence feels cold. Money and future planning become more complex. In America, independence is key. Each person is responsible for themselves. In Ukraine, men are often expected to prove their stability, to support not just their partner, but sometimes also her family. When Olena hints that helping her parents is part of the future, David feels shocked. He believes a relationship should be about two people, not extended family obligations. For her, refusing to help looks selfish. For him, being asked feels unfair. Even daily habits show the divide. David wastes food casually, leaves lights on, and treats resources lightly. Olena, raised in a culture where scarcity was real, values frugality. She is shocked by his wastefulness. He laughs it off. She sees disrespect in his casual habits. What he calls comfort, she calls carelessness. Social expectations also cause friction. David enjoys casual outings, relaxed gatherings, and spontaneous fun. Olena expects formality in certain settings, careful manners, and proper presentation. When David makes casual jokes around her relatives, she feels embarrassed. When she corrects him, he feels criticized. As the weeks turn into months, the cultural gap becomes harder to ignore. David feels burdened by constant expectations, family involvement, traditional roles, and demands for security. Olena feels disappointed by his casual approach, his independence, and his lack of seriousness about traditions. What once felt attractive now feels exhausting. This is why so many Americans struggle when dating Ukrainians. At first, the beauty, the warmth, the strength, and the family values feel irresistible. But soon, Americans realize that Ukrainian love is not light or casual. It is tied to family, duty, and survival. Love is not just romance. It is responsibility, and this is only the beginning. Because as relationships deepen, the pressure of family, tradition, and cultural expectations only grows stronger, testing whether love alone is enough. Stay tuned, because in the next part, we will uncover how these cultural clashes escalate when Americans and Ukrainians try to build a long-term future together, and why most of these relationships end in heartbreak. As David and Olena's relationship continues, the initial fascination begins to wear off, and the cultural differences grow sharper. What once felt like exotic charm now feels like a constant test of patience and endurance. David admires Olena's loyalty, her discipline, and her resilience, but he feels trapped under expectations he never signed up for. Olena values David's humor, his freedom, and his optimism, but she feels he does not take life seriously enough. The marriage question arrives faster than David expected. Olena's family begins to hint, subtly at first, then directly. For them, a serious relationship must lead to marriage. In Ukraine, a woman's future is tied not only to her own choices, but to the reputation of her family. Olena asks David about his intentions. He tries to stall, saying they should enjoy the relationship and let things flow. But for her, waiting feels like disrespect. Every month without a proposal feels like wasted time. For him, rushing feels like a trap. What he calls freedom, she calls avoidance. Family pressure becomes unbearable. Olena's parents question his career, his financial stability, and his seriousness. They expect him to be not just a partner to their daughter, but a provider, someone who can guarantee her security. David, who grew up believing that love is about two people building together, feels shocked. He is judged not only for who he is, but for what he can offer. For Olena's family, love without stability is meaningless. For David, love without freedom is suffocating. Jealousy and loyalty intensify. Olena becomes more demanding, questioning his female friends, his social media activity, and his casual interactions. She expects clear boundaries. David sees her protectiveness as insecurity. He argues that trust should be enough. But Olena believes true love requires vigilance. For her, if he doesn't get jealous, he doesn't care. For him, if she demands jealousy, she doesn't trust him. Each sees the other as wrong, and both feel unloved. Religion and tradition add further strain. Olena insists on attending religious holidays, respecting rituals, and honoring cultural traditions. David participates reluctantly but feels out of place. He cracks jokes to lighten the mood, but her family frowns at his casualness. Olena feels embarrassed, accusing him of disrespect. He feels attacked for being himself. For her, culture is sacred. For him, culture is optional. Even communication styles create distance. Olena believes in showing love through actions, not constant words. She cooks for him, supports him, and remains loyal. But she does not say "I love you" often. David craves verbal affirmation, constant reassurance, and visible affection. For him, silence feels cold. For her, constant words feel fake. The more he asks, the less she says. The more she stays quiet, the more insecure he feels. Money becomes another battlefield. Olena expects David to prove his seriousness through financial stability. She does not expect luxury, but she expects consistency and support. When her parents face difficulties, she hints that helping them would show commitment. David feels pressured. He believes responsibility should stay between the couple, not extend to in-laws. Olena sees his refusal as selfish. He sees her expectation as unfair. What she calls duty, he calls exploitation. Even daily life feels like conflict. David is relaxed, casual, and spontaneous. Olena is disciplined, orderly, and structured. When he forgets small details, she sees irresponsibility. When she insists on structure, he sees rigidity. He wants lightness. She wants seriousness. Their lifestyles clash at every corner. Over time, the love that brought them together feels buried under obligation. David feels he is being asked to give up his independence, his freedom, and his way of life. Olena feels she's being asked to abandon her culture, her family, and her values. Neither can give without losing themselves. This is why so many Americans struggle when dating Ukrainians. At first, the beauty, the loyalty, and the strength are magnetic. But soon they realize that Ukrainian love is not casual. It is heavy, tied to family, tradition, and responsibility. Americans see love as freedom. Ukrainians see love as duty. Both are valid, but together they clash. Does this mean it is impossible? Not always. Some couples succeed. Some Americans adapt, embracing tradition and duty. Some Ukrainians adapt, embracing independence and freedom. But this requires sacrifice, patience, and compromise on a level most are not ready for. And most relationships collapse not because of lack of love, but because love alone cannot overcome culture, history, and expectation. So, should Americans date Ukrainians? Only if they are ready to trade independence for obligation, freedom for family honor, and casual love for serious commitment. Only if they are ready to carry the weight of tradition, expectation, and resilience. Because dating a Ukrainian is not just romance, it is stepping into a culture where love is duty, survival, and family above all else. Unless you are ready to bear that weight, maybe you should think twice before stepping into that world. So what do you think? Would you survive dating a Ukrainian? Or would the jealousy, the family pressure, and the weight of tradition crush you before love could last? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to Cultural Clashes, and spread this story. Because when cultures collide, love is never simple. It is always a battlefield between worlds.